I'd like to congratulate John Suntress and his Word Balloon podcast on its 19th anniversary. Nobody covers the world of comics with in-depth interviews like John does, but I can do without his constant ripping of new Star Trek. Come on, man. Give it a rest.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. It's been called one of the top 3 real Comic-Cons in the USA. August 16th through the 18th. Discover Terrificon as it returns to the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut. Terrificon showrunner Mitch Halleck has assembled his biggest and best comic creator guest list to date. Jim Lee, Scotty Young, Mark Waid, Adam Hughes, Jason Aaron, Charles Soule, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Brian Azzarello, alongside legends like Chris Claremont, Jerry Ordway, Howard Chaykin, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Louise and Walter Simonson, Klaus Janson, Lee Weeks, and dozens more. Terrificon also brings you the actors who have brought your favorite superheroes to life on the big and small screens. Michael Rooker, Charlie Cox, Star Trek actors Walter Koenig, Nana Visitor, Armin Shimmerman, Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, and many more. That's Terrificon, August 16th through the 18th. For information on tickets and guests, visit Terrificon.com. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. This is one of my favorite people to run into at San Diego. I'm not going to be there this year, but invariably I will see him and another good friend of ours, Nicholas Scott, hanging out in front of the Hyatt on a very late night because their biological clocks are completely half a world away. But it's always good to hang out with Tom Taylor. So at least we can do it via video. Tom, great to see you.
It's so great to see you, man. It's been way too long, and I apologize for that. That's entirely my fault. Cheers.
We all get busy, buddy. Yeah, cheers indeed. Absolutely. Yeah, dude, I am so happy for you. And as I get to know creators like yourself and the success that you get, it's like, way to go. My God, man. I think back to when we first started talking and you were doing, I think for Dark Horse, you were doing some Star Wars stuff. Things like that. And truly, man, my God, we'll talk a little bit about a previous Marvel work that I really love, but you're killing it at DC. And it seems beyond the current stuff that you've almost been setting the table for the return of Elseworlds ever since you were doing Injustice back in, when one of your first assignments there. And I told you then, I felt like it was the best Justice League story that was going because it was an alternate universe. It was obviously based on the game, but it really was this different take. And I'm really glad you went back to it in your John Kent book and had a chance to kind of do a prequel to what you gave us and stuff. So great stuff, man. Well done.
Thanks, man. Yeah, look, Elseworlds has always kind of been my jam. I've always loved Elseworlds. And certainly as soon as Injustice was popular, I was in the year of DC saying, come on, let me do more of this. Do you like books that keep selling, that are evergreen, that people will keep reading and will bring more and more people into comics? And, now we are literally at DC bringing back the Elseworlds imprint and, just having that little circle on the Elseworlds logo on the book is going to be so exciting.
I don't want to obviously get ahead of any promotional announcements. I do know that you've got a Dark Knights of Steel sequel coming up. Will that be? I mean, so that's already been announced. Will that be under an Elseworlds imprint?
Yeah, it definitely will. As will, I think, the spin-off that my friend Jay Christoph and Tirso are doing. Then I'm writing backups in that with Riccardo Federici. We will have that Elseworlds imprint coming July. Exciting.
Were you more of a DC kid than a Marvel kid? Was there one or the other for you?
Yeah, I was more of a DC kid just because growing up in Australia, that's what we had the most access to. So, you'd go, I was getting these things at sort of secondhand record stores for 50 cents or 10 cents. We'd get 2000 AD was the thing that was in actual newsagents. That's what we could buy at the stand. There weren't a lot of comic stores, and certainly the ones that there were, I couldn't afford. We grew up very poor. So I got a lot of secondhand, sort of black and white, reprinted DC superhero stuff, and Green Arrow and Superman and Batman and all of that. And it was all sort of the glory days of the 70s. Or, well, I guess it was reprints of 70s stuff and 80s stuff. And it was Neil Adams and it was John Byrne. And it was just, exactly how you see DC superheroes. So it was Garcia's, like, just the stuff that makes you smile. And, of course, you gravitate toward those. But everything I could get of Marvel, everything that I could see at a friend's house, or if they had a Captain America comic, everyone would go to bed and I'd be the one up at 1 a.m. pouring through this prized collection of comic books that nobody cared about but me, but prized to me,
It feels like when you write some of these kind of Elseworld takes, alternate histories and the like, that you really get more into the heart of the character. I know reading the John Kent look at the Injustice world and some of the heart-to-hearts between John and Clark. It's great because obviously a different Clark, but at the heart of it, it really is this, father-son conversation. And how do you, because really, again, different shades of John and Bruce and Clark and Damian and Dick and everybody really that you get to touch and stuff. So, let's talk a minute about John Kent, because obviously you've been a big part of him getting his own kind of stage and playing over there. But tell me about the relationship between Clark and John in your
look, it's a beautiful relationship, and I'm just going to put my coffee down before I get too excited. It's a relationship of, I think the beauty of writing John at that time was that my son was 16, 17 at the same time. And so there were conversations that John was having with Clark that my son was having with me, the things that my son was passionate about and the things that he does, socially, the protests he was attending, the things that he was really concerned about, and the passion that he had and the drive and just that search for goodness. There was a lot of my son in John Kent. And obviously I read, it was actually my son who introduced me to John Kent as well. So when I first started writing Deceased, John Kent and Damian weren't going to be a big part of that. But it was my son who was reading Super Sons and said, "Dad, you have to read this. You have to check out, what Tomasi and Jorge Jimenez and Pat Gleason are doing on this book." And he was right. Like, it was just fantastic. And of course, that's where, I started getting that drive. I'm like, this character is fantastic. And the heart of this character, and Superman as a father as well. There's something completely different to that. I think a lot of us who grew up with Superman already saw him as a father figure. So putting him right there as a father and, a father to someone as powerful as him was, just made for good comics.
I'm with you on that, man. I'm a little older, and I read a lot of that black and white stuff that you read when it was coming out in the 70s. And it felt like when Kurt Swan was drawing him, and also when Cary Bates and Marty Pasco and Elliot Magan were writing him and stuff, he really was more of a figure. I understood why they kind of de-aged him during the Byrne era, made him a bit younger again. But I like this role. I don't know how privy you were to the 5G idea that Dan had to Dio. My concern was, as a reader, was that they might make him too old, and I didn't want to see senior citizen Clark and adult John. And I really feel like right now we've got a good balance of both guys out there, both guys vital, and I like young adult John kind of paving his own way. What tell me the difference. I mean, what do you think John has that Clark does?
I agree with that. I think it's really important that Batman and Superman stay forever. That sort of that age of whatever it is. It's probably mid-30s to early 40s in your brain. But no, as soon as you get older than that, suddenly, you know, I think that's why a character like Alfred is so important to Batman. I know he's, you know, dead, but you know, Batman having a father figure is really important. Superman having Ma and Pa Kent is incredibly important. You know, that there are these people who can say, okay, kid, you know, bedtimes are important, Superman and Batman. The people who can be father figures to them, that de-ages them in our minds as well. And so I think, you know, John, obviously when I was writing Deceased and John ages up in that and he becomes around the same age. So Damian and John become the Batman and Superman of that world, but they are 17. That's how old they get to, or 18, I think they turned. Damian turns before the end of the book. But that is, you know, I understand. I will say wholeheartedly, I understand the people who do miss or are sad that John was aged up. I completely understand that because those stories were fantastic, and Superman with a young son and Lois with a young son was beautiful. They were such great books, and the dynamic was great too. And obviously, you know, the dynamic, fortunately, between Damian and John never really changed. They switched. You know, suddenly John was 3 years younger, and then he was 3 years older, but they had that same brotherly thing and that same best friend thing, which is, you know, which can't be broken. So writing those characters, you know, it's great writing that next gen and writing that Superman. I mean, it was a great honor to write John and to write all those books and to write Son of Superman and what that meant to so many people around the world. You know, everywhere I go in the world, I get hugged and cried on, and you know, you see what it meant. And what more could you ask for from a superhero?
The spirit of Alfred too in Deceased becoming am I mixing up my stories? Because really I did a lot of catch up preparing to talk to you. And was he the Spectre in the Deceased story?
Yes, he was. That's a major spoiler for anyone who hasn't read the last book, but yeah. But no, that's fine. Look, I love giving amazing powers to characters that deserve it, and Alfred becoming, you know, having a bit of vengeance about him and becoming the wrath of God was a lot of fun to write.
and also, you know, and we'll get more in depth with Nightwing in a second, but you really do feel that hand of Alfred in all the Bat books, and I respect the decision to kill off Alfred. I mean, I thought, for example, Bendis's move revealing Clark was going to be a permanent thing. There is part of me that is relieved that the genie's back in the bottle. I don't know what the future plans are with Alfred, but you know, yeah, that you really do need at least his spirit, and clearly what you're doing in Nightwing and things like Deceased. It's like, oh, there he is, man, and he means so much to all of them in different ways. And no, he's such a wonderful character. In a different way, I always felt in Daredevil, Foggy was that conscience for Matt Murdock. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, Alfred could very quietly just go, Bruce, you're doing it wrong. Yep. And you don't know what you have. And now Bruce, not having it and everything, realizes, I think, a lot of the lessons that Alfred was trying to tell him when he was too busy fighting crime every night. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you do feel Alfred's presence over all of the books, even though he's not there. Obviously, is a huge part of Nightwing. The letter that he writes to Dick Grayson and the money he leaves him from the very first issue, that's always in the background. And Dick wanting to live up to Alfred as, you know, as his co-father, effectively. Yeah, it's all there. And for Bruce, as you say, like, you need that person that can cut you down to size, and it can't be a Robin because those are his kids, you know. That's your kids kind of talking back to you and telling you off, which my kids are very good at, I will say. My son is always, my youngest is great at saying, Dad, you really should go to bed before 5 a.m. tonight. And so he's right, you know. But if Alfred told me, I'd probably listen. Yeah.
Is this, forgive me, because you've won Eisner's before, correct?
I won my first Eisner last year. It's there. Hang on. There, we're mirrored.
Awesome.
For Nightwing. Yeah.
And was it for Nightwing as well?
Yeah, it was for Nightwing. Yeah,
wow, so 2 years in a row, man, nominated for Nightwing. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're up to 11 nominations now for Nightwing this year. So we've had 3 years of. It's honestly been insane. I couldn't have imagined this. Like, I don't know, I'm a guy from Australia, you know, and I just thought, like, just going over to America and hanging out with people who I absolutely idolize is enough. Being in the room with these people who I now count as my friends, I still kind of pinch myself because I've grown up reading their stuff, or I'm reading their stuff now and I love it. You know, that list of writers, like being up there with Kelly Thompson and Mariko and G. Willow Wilson, and just going, these are people that I love. Like Kelly Thompson is my eldest son's favorite writer. He's reminded me of that often while reading my stuff. I'm his second favorite writer. Um, so look, it's wonderful to be with these people, and yeah, it feels like a great honor. And I mean, at the Eisners last year, when I sat down, I should say Tom King did tell me at the start of the night that he knew for a fact that I'd lost. And he I don't know how he knew this, he just knew. So I was sitting with him and I was like, oh, well, you know, we're not going to win. I'm just, you know, I haven't prepared anything. I won't prepare anything now. And then we won. So I grabbed him and dragged him up on stage with me and made him stand there while I told him off. Before I then thought to, you know, thank people and accept the award.
That's outstanding. I'm talking to Kelly tomorrow night. So my God, I'm so happy for her too. She's killing it. 5 nominations.
So much. It's just, she is such a great writer. The heart that she has, the humor she has, the pacing. Like, she's just been at the top of the game for so long, and her name should be there every year. And you know, I fully expect to hopefully lose to her on the night, because I just think she's incredible, and she knows it. She knows I think she's amazing.
No, it's wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm happy and sad for you and Bruno that you're wrapping things up with Nightwing, and this is that final epic story. But I love the places you've taken Dick. You know, for years, people of your age, and I would even say slightly younger, have been pushing that when is Dick going to take center stage?
Yeah,
because you guys grew up with him. And I get that. I was, when the Titans were happening, I was already in my 20s, and it was great to see him portrayed as an adult. And I felt the same way. I mean, long overdue. And just those hints we would get in the 90s after Bane broke Bruce's back. Yeah. And Dick had the first time he had to take over his battle. It's like, oh, this is cool. And then, of course, when Grant and Quietly did their run and everything when Bruce was presumed dead. So it's like, man. But, tell me, it does feel like not only in the comics, but clearly even in TV as well and animation, that Dick is finally getting his due as an A-lister.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I mean, that was my pitch. I will say, like, when DC came to me and came to Bruno and said, hey, here's what we're thinking, would you be interested in XXX? And one of the offers was Nightwing. And you would think that some of the things they offered us were probably higher profile, probably more the sort of A-lister thing. And in my pitch, I said, I want to show the world again why Nightwing is an A-lister, why he belongs on that pedestal. And Bruno and I want to put him back on that pedestal we know he belongs on. And I've noticed with interest every time there's been, a big CBR poll or something asking people who their favorite hero is, that often Nightwing is about number 3. Like, he usually goes Batman, Superman, Nightwing, Wonder Woman. And that just tells you, but it actually makes a lot of sense because everybody's grown up with him. This is Dick Grayson. He's been around for not much, shorter a period than Batman. And he was the kid that so many people grew up with. And then he grew up to become something else, to become something bigger, and to become the best of Batman and the best of Superman and the best of us. So I think he's an incredibly important character, and it's been an absolute honor to write his stories for this long and with such an incredible team.
It's interesting because I remember when DiDio, and I don't say this to, I disagreed with it, but I understand that feeling of we've got too many Robins, Dick, Damian, and of course, Tim, Dick, and Damian. And it's like, well, do we need him? Let's kill him off. And it's like, I'm so glad that all of you because we're all readers. And it's like, no, man, it's like Dick's the guy. Dick is really, would you say, he's like the guy that represents the younger generation, but also is the leader of that generation. So therefore, the older heroes defer to him and are like, "Well, you've been around here long enough and stuff, man. We trust your point of view."
Definitely. I mean, he was the first sidekick. He just was, and he's not just he's also a link between generations, but he's a link between generations of readers as well. For us who grew up reading Chuck Dixon and Scott McDaniel and Devin Grayson and Phil Hester, and like seeing that Nightwing, and then having Joe Kelly come along and pop him in charge of the Justice League after Mark Waid and after Grant Morrison. This is the Nightwing that excited us. And for so many people, this was Robin. And before that, that was New Teen Titans. This is generationally this character that we've seen grow, and he just embodies so much. I mean, if you're a superhero fan, you tend to love Dick Grayson. He is there for everybody. He has just got the most beautiful soul, and he's incredibly cool, and he looks great. He's also a very pretty man. I'm not going to deny this. Look, he ticks a lot of boxes.
That's hilarious. I do always love, and listen, again, I say this as a bleeding heart liberal. It is fantastic that women characters and women fans are getting the agency they deserve in loving this stuff as well. And it's like, well, women can be strong and all that stuff. And then when it comes down to it, there is a little bit of, ooh, Nightwing's butt. And it's like, yeah, man, I get it. It's fine. That's great, man. We can appreciate Power Girl and Wonder Woman and the others. And it's like, no, man, you guys deserve some eye candy. Why not Nightwing? I loved when Seeley and King were doing Grayson. And again, that's the strength of the character. I mean, my God, he didn't even need the costume. And it's like, no, man, we want to follow Dick Grayson. We love Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Funny
no, it is, I mean, we actually don't make anything of that. We don't do the eye candy thing in our book because we don't need to. Because, he exists as a kind of meme. His reputation precedes him. We don't need to put that in the book. We just run with it and we let people have their fun, We get the swimsuit cover editions and we get Nicholas Scott doing what Nicholas Scott does and doing it so well.
Tell me about the relationship between Dick and Bloodhaven and Bruce and Gotham, because again, I think Dick has taken those lessons and interpreted how to do things in a very different way.
Well, he has, yeah. I mean, for him, he was given these billions of dollars. He was given Alfred's fortune, which nobody knew about because Alfred was happy doing what Alfred was doing and knew that Dick Grayson, with the sort of ideas that Dick Grayson has, somebody who could think in a different way to anyone else on Earth, could put it to use. And I was fortunate enough to talk to some people who literally do this, people who invest in communities, people who invest in all sorts of things, who are trying to do these things in citywide ways, to create not just shelters, but my brain just stopped working. Doing things like free public healthcare, free education, social safety net stuff, which is, and just to show that this stuff works and the entire world can grow if there's a baseline where you actually look after everybody. And for Dick Grayson, he's somebody who, he says it in issue 1 as a kid, he says, I just want to help. And that's always been his mantra. He is the kid who wants to help. And as soon as he was given an opportunity to help in a different way, he leapt at it. And it wasn't perfect. Some of it was clumsy. Yes, he angered a lot of people. But in a city like Bloodhaven, which is so openly corrupt, and has always been that openly corrupt, it's a great city to go, okay, I'm going to fight the big bads at the top. I'm going to fight the monsters, but I'm also going to look after the people. I'm not just going to leave the monster in a ditch or in a cell. I'm going to make sure that the damage they've done, the people left behind looked after. And that's what it comes down to.
This adversary in this final arc, did you just introduce him, or has he? I mean, I'm aware, obviously, and again, I think you make it clear in was it 114 that the story started in? Okay, that obviously this is a guy that has been working behind the scenes, working with Blockbuster, working with Zuko, and so clearly has been a factor behind the scenes in Dick's life. So tell me about that.
He's in the very first scene of issue 78 where we first came on board. There's a scene with nobody knows it at the time though, where Dick Grayson is fighting a bully who's beating up some kids, or he's got some goons to beat up a kid. And Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon meet in that moment, standing up for this bully, and Dick Grayson knocks some of this kid's teeth out. And that guy saw Dick Grayson's parents fall at the circus. You know, he said basically the flying Graysons couldn't fly after all, and best thing he's ever seen. And that guy ends up being Heartless. So he's been around for a very, very long time, to the frustration of a lot of people who have gone, why haven't you tapped this story off yet? But basically, you know, for a number of reasons, obviously we had Beast World, we had you know, Night Terrors, we had things that came along and sort of, well, we don't have the space to tell this story that particularly Bruno and I really wanted to tell together. So once we were clear, once we're in the clear and we were like, okay, this is our time to finally tell that big Nightwing, Heartless story that we've been gearing up to. So, and we're very excited. And working with Bruno Redondo and Adriano Lucas, I mean, and Wes Abbott, I mean, it's just, what a team. All three of them have been nominated for Eisners in the last few years. So people recognize that they're very, very good at what they do. And I feel very lucky to work with them.
I'm sure the omnibus department is prepping for your guys' run and everything. And no, truly unparalleled in the history of Dick. I mean, Dick's had great stories before, but where you guys have taken him has really been exceptional, and it is great. And you guys you deserve the victory lap. So I'm glad you're going out on your own terms. And is this a 6-issue story or a 5-issue story?
5 issues, this one. Yep.
Okay, cool.
But we kind of set things up a little bit in issue 300, which was 114. That was legacy number. So we started the ball rolling there.
That's cool. And Beast World was a fun, again, Dick-led event. Yeah. And that was real. And much like I said about Deceased, you get, and some of the other Elseworld kind of things you've done, we really get into the heart of these people as they transform into monsters and everything. And it's like, well, the monster obviously reflects something that's inside of them that they can't control in that current condition and everything. So that was great to see. Also, tell me about Dick and Damian, because again, I go back to that original, like when he really had to take over when Grant was writing it and everything, and that older brother mentor thing. Where are they right now in their relationship?
Look, I think their relationship is fundamentally the same. We had to sort of stand off of Damian a little bit, basically because, well, for one thing, Josh Williamson had him fighting a superhero fight club on an island for a very long time. So I think we got to take him out off the island one time to talk to John and another time to talk to Dick. But anytime they're together, we have a ball with them. So, I mean, they were together in the last issue. Damian put on a suit for Dick, which was restrictive in all the wrong places. And yeah, he, you know, I love the characters together. I love that the brothers together. And it's the same with Jason. You know, I've had a chance to write Dick and Jason together, and Dick and Tim together as well, honoring, you know, back the stories that I read growing up, where they were really close as Nightwing and Robin. So, you know, and Cass and Steph. I mean, the Bat family is such a great family to dip your toe into, right? And yeah, it's been great.
That's excellent, man. No, tell me about Dick and Jason and where they are right now. Because again, there really was that the first guy to kind of replace Dick and everything. And I'm sure there was this resentment on Jason's part that he could connect with Bruce in a way that Jason couldn't.
Yeah, look, I think there's been a lot going on. If you're reading what Chip Zdarsky's doing with Jorge over there, like, there's obviously a lot of family politics going on at the moment. But largely, I think Dick can rise above a lot of it. So he is that guy who can always be there for one of his, you know, for any member of his family. You know, we wrote an annual a few years back where we had a team up with Red Hood and Nightwing, and it was just a ball. It was so much fun. I got to show them back when they were younger, back when Jason was first becoming Robin, and they sort of take the car out for a spin and go on an adventure. And Alfred's very much in favor of that, and brothers keeping secrets from their dad is fine. And at the time, Red Hood was carrying a crowbar, and Nightwing was asking him why he was carrying a crowbar. And he's like, well, it's kind of like Batman dresses as a bat, I guess because it's the thing I'm scared of or whatever. He's like, well, then you should dress as a crowbar or just make this shape a lot, But yeah, look, they're a lot of fun. It's a great dynamic.
That's excellent, man. No, you really you are very comfortable in the DC universe. It really does feel like these characters are so familiar to you, and you can bring out stories that we may not expect, but there's a consistency in character that I think is a good through line with what you're doing.
Well, I think that's just from being a reader and a fan. That's from, it's not because I've grown to know one voice. It's an amalgamation of so many voices. It's an amalgamation of what I've read from Mark Waid or Grant Morrison or Tom King or, growing up with Joe Kelly. Like these are the characters, Jeff Loeb, whoever that I was reading, and all of these different versions come together, and I try to bring together the sort of core that I sort of hear in my head, I guess, as I'm reading these characters, and bring out the best that I can.
I've also been impressed, and this goes even back to our last conversation when you were still doing the Suicide Squad, the amount of characters, the new characters that you've introduced. And I think right now of this Titan story that you're doing, and this new adversary. What's her name again? Forgive me.
Venadia. Yeah.
Venadia. Yeah.
Vanessa. Yeah. And now Venadia. Yeah.
And this scientist who has taken the lessons of Professor Ivo and
Dr.
obviously
Morrow. Yeah.
Is it Tio Morrow? Is that Tio Morrow?
Yeah.
Oh, and again, forgive me, because I'm like, I was wondering if it was a new character, but that's awesome. Yeah. So that's Tio Morrow. He's the Metal Men creator, correct?
No, that's what's his face.
That's Aldo. Okay. But yeah, Tio Morrow.
I can't remember. Morrow created the Red Tornado.
Oh, that's right, of course. And he even says he's improved on his design with her, and obviously, So no, there's you'll forgive the Marvel comparison. There's a super adaptoid feel to her. I think having the powers that she does, and that's great. And also, I mean, I know that it was part of Josh's event to put the Justice League on the shelf for now, and this is the time for the Titans to take the A-list role. And obviously, the assignment was given to you. God, again, I think it's been great, and something that a couple generations of readers have been waiting for. Where it's like, since Wolfman and Perez, we know what they can do. Let's let them be the A-list team and everything. It's tell me about taking that over, and what was your thoughts as you were writing Titans?
Yeah, look, I think that was the exact idea. I think there's always been this idea that the Titans have always been around and in this form. I've heard this from readers. They're like, oh, why would you bring back, we've seen them so many times. I'm like, you haven't. We've seen versions of the team with other characters. We've seen them splintered off into two different teams. You've had the Outsiders, you've had Young Justice, you've had, but you haven't actually seen this original team come back together to just be them in decades. So to be able to do that and to be able to say, yes, this is the A-list, this is the premier superhero team of the DCU, it was important. And we knew how many fans the Titans had. The amount of people who've grown up watching the Titans TV series or watching Titans Go or the Teen Titans. My kids have watched Titans Go. I've had Beast Boy, constantly, I don't know, spraying milk at people, and Titans Goes to the movies was so good. So there's this massive fan base of people who've grown up reading them, and we're like, well, let's do something for them. And I was in the room with Josh and with all these people as we were trying to decide what to do this, and I cannot remember who it was who went, and Tom should write it. I was like, what? Wait, what? Yeah. And anyway, then suddenly I was. Yep. Maybe Chip. It might have been Chip. It's the sort of thing Chip would do. Yeah.
Also it did. It felt like they almost skipped their prime, because they went from being the young adult team to suddenly mentoring the Young Justice group as they became Titans. And yeah, it's like, well, wait a minute. I think there's a middle chapter we're missing of them having the spotlight and everything. And yeah, I'm with you. Like these characters have known each other forever. They've worked. It felt like to me, and I'm curious of your opinion, that there really was even more of a deeper connection between the original Titans than even the original Justice League. I mean, they're all friendly, the Justice League, and they know each other and stuff. But these guys really, metaphorically, like they've been to war and back, and they really are these old army buddies that, you know, kind of really do know each other, even in a more personal way than I think the Justice League did.
Definitely. I mean, I don't want to get too fast and furious here, but they're family. I mean, that is what they are. I mean, these are kids that were the sidekicks who grew up in the shadow of the greatest heroes on the planet, who grew up worshipping the people they were beside, but they grew up together and they came through so much together, and they came through teen problems together. They came through love and lust and infighting and also saving the world. And so having come through all of that, what does that look like now? And that was the answer I kind of had to give on the pages in here. And I think, well, you know, obviously the first 6 issues were all kind of building up to Beast World and putting them right there on the spotlight and saying it is time for you to save the world and face a Justice League scale event. And now what we're seeing with Darkwing Queen is a similar scale. You know, it's time for the Titans to have big stories. And you know, it's exciting.
That's great, man. No, that's outstanding. And again, I think long time coming. And in fact, I have a lapsed reader friend who adores the Titans and adores Nightwing. And I'm like, man, Tom Taylor has a stack of comics.
I want to say it. We'll put it out there. Yes. Once you have to confuse him with Tom King, I understand. It's happened. Yeah.
No. Well, you're both friends of mine, so I appreciate that. But yeah, no, it's like, again, man, I'm like, in fact, the guy and I had dinner on Sunday night, and I'm like, Tom Taylor has like a stack of Dick Grayson and Titan books, exactly what you've been asking for, and it's happening now. And it's, you know, I'm like, the good news is there's plenty of trades for you to catch up on and enjoy the read. So yeah, man, I'm preaching the sermon to the.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Spruik out wares. I appreciate it. Yeah,
absolutely. I also, hey, and another thing that I'm so happy that at least the first 3 seasons are available to us on Netflix. But your wonderful animated series, The Deep, and have you made a season 4 and it's only in
yes, we have. Yeah, we have. We've done 65 episodes, so we've done 4 seasons. We're currently developing a MetaQuest 3 game as well, which is really exciting. So working on that with the team at Darkslope. Some other stuff I can't talk about yet, but The Deep just keeps going on and on and on. You know, it's a juggernaut. Netflix did their typical thing that Netflix did and did their 3 seasons and out, which is why you see it everywhere else. Is why we were the #1 rated show in the UK on BBC and the rest of it. So it's going great guns. I actually couldn't tell you what's happening in America for season 4. Sorry.
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah, I read about it and probably saw like some YouTube trailers for season 4. Well, that's too bad, man. Because again, I'm thrilled that it has taken off so well. I remember us talking about it when it was a comic, and truly, that's wonderful. I would imagine in the other countries beyond Australia and England and stuff, is it still doing well?
It's on in over 130 territories. It's in every language on Earth. It's action figures and party bags and rides and games, and it's had such a huge life. And I think what's most astounding is realizing, I think because it's children's television, that I didn't realize how big it was. And I was giving talks recently to a room of sort of 500 people, about 17 and 18-year-olds. And, you know, I'm up there, I'm talking Spider-Man and, you know, Superman and Batman and Star Wars, things I've written. And I mentioned The Deep, and every single person there knew it. All of them had grown up watching it. Like it's a generational thing that all of these kids, just like I grew up watching cartoons and being able to, you know the theme songs off the back of my, you know, that will always be there. I can always just, sing Battle of the Planets or whatever. It's always there. That's what they have here. They wanted to know about Jeffrey the Fish. They wanted to hear about Ant Necton. And I just think because you don't get a lot of feedback in children's television because of the demographic that's watching it, they're not online complaining to you. They've just grown up with it. And in the UK in particular, it's been the #1 rated show there every season. So, kids are watching it in the hundreds of thousands. Millions of people have watched it around the world, which is astounding to think about.
So you're developing a video game? Is this the first one that you?
Yeah. We've had mobile games and aquarium experiences and other stuff like that, but this is the first sort of mixed reality game for MetaQuest 3 that we're working on. So you will basically get to dive.
Wow.
As a Necton or with the Nectons. We're still working on the story, but it won't actually be that far away. We're funded. It's all happening. It's amazing.
So MetaQuest, that's the VR Facebook kind of stuff, is that?
Yeah, Oculus. So
of course, Oculus. Yeah.
It's great. We got one. My son, we got a MetaQuest 3 about a month ago, and 2 days later, I had to buy a new television because my son punched it. And I was live streaming what he was doing to the television, so I got to watch him punch it in reality and virtual reality at the same time. It was amazing. No.
That's hilarious. I told you before we started recording, I went back and read your Superior Iron Man. And man, what a great story. And I know how comfortable you are at DC, and I know you're in the midst of an exclusive, but I got to say, man, that was such a great story. And I really felt it still, reads so well, just the ideas of an out of control Tony devising, an app with whatchamacall, I forget what it's called.
Yep.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's like Extremis and everything. Yeah. It's what a great idea. And also, I love Daredevil. I've always been a Daredevil guy, and it was so great for all the possible powerful people to go up against Tony. You got Daredevil in his heightened senses and stuff at his Billy Club, and he's going to be the guy that's going to challenge him and try to take him down. Great story, man. Love it.
Thank you, man. I hope you approve of. So Tony gave him his sight back for 24 hours, and I hope you approve that the one person he went to see in that moment was Foggy.
Absolutely, yes. Again, it's his father confessor, and the one guy that he can reveal his true self to when things are horrible or when he doesn't want to deal with anybody. There's Foggy, and that's he's so vital. And in fact, I'm excited. I'm curious to see how Disney and the new Charlie Cox series is going to play. And I'm so relieved that the guy that played Foggy on the Netflix series is back, because I thought it was a good interpretation of their relationship. I really did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm really excited to see what comes next. I absolutely love the much more comedic She-Hulk version. The walk of shame that Daredevil did in that. I think I was cry laughing at that moment. I've not laughed that hard at television in a very long time.
I'm with you.
And I'm a huge fan of Daredevil. I don't know when I came into it, but obviously, all the Frank Miller, Lars Jansen stuff. And then when Kevin Smith came in, I'm sure I came in around there as well before Bendis and Brubaker. And, it's such a great golden era of Daredevil. And now, everything that Chip's been doing. It's a great character.
So agree, man. No, it truly was. I was kind of out of comics a bit in the 90s, partially because I was out of college and couldn't afford comics and stuff. And I had heard through the grapevine, it's like, hey, man, Kevin Smith is writing Daredevil, and it kind of feels like Frank Miller. I'm like, well, sign me up. And then, like you said, it's afterwards we got Bendis and Brubaker's runs and Diggle and some of these guys, and it's like, oh my God, people know how to write Daredevil again. That's really exciting. And I agree with you. Chip's run was amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. So no, I'm with you there. Let's see here. I want to go through the list. What haven't we talked about? Dark Knights of Steel, of course. And you've got a sequel coming up, another great Elseworlds story, an interesting interpretation of the characters in a different setting. What can you tease about the new series and the side series coming up?
What can I tease? So I can tell you So the new side series, and we haven't really talked about this, but it's going to be called Heir to the Sea. So it is going to be, we teased in the first series something about Jonathan and Martha Kent not raising Clark Kent, but raising Arthur, raising Aquaman. And so you're going to see the first part of that here, which is exciting. Particularly, look, I'm just going to spoil it for you. So I posted a little screen grab that Riccardo Federici put on Twitter or Facebook earlier today, and it's sort of two knights fighting, battling, blood flying. That is actually Martha and Jonathan Kent in their early days, so in this world. So it's so cool to write them like that, and the other people around them that you'll see. I'm having a ball on this book.
That's
right.
great.
Just fills me with joy.
I would imagine, man, because again, we get to see these the essence of these characters, but done in different ways. And it reminds me of the '60s imaginary stories sometimes. When what if Clark and Lex were raised together as brothers, or if Bruce and Clark were raised by the Kents together, things like that. And good. I'm glad to see Arthur getting the agency that he deserves, because I really do feel that sometimes when you talk about the Justice League pantheon, it's like people forget. It's like you do know that Arthur controls 3/4 of the world, and I would imagine being in Australia, you're even more cognizant of it being surrounded by the water and everything. Absolutely. As you get.
And having written the Deep TV series and comics and stuff for years, my head is about filled up to here with ocean knowledge. So yeah, being able to play with Arthur is going to be great. Really looking forward to it, and he will feature in Dark Knights of Steel 2 for sure. Excellent,
very cool to hear. I love it, man. That's beautiful. I'm very thrilled with all these different moves, man. That you got coming up. This is terrific. And you'll forgive me because now I'm starting to struggle with some things I wanted to talk to you about, and the mind is going blank. Oh, something I did want to ask, because I feel like when you said, "Oh my God, they give this opportunity to a guy from Australia to write these American heroes," I really think, and I used to say this to James Robinson as well, that because you guys are outside of the, you're aware of the American culture, but again, you're not really, you're seeing it more as an observer, and I think it does give you guys a more unique perspective on warts and all, good points and bad points of the American culture. Thoughts on that?
Look, I think being Australian, we tend to give crap to everything. Like, we have a tall poppy syndrome where we can cut anything down to size. Like, nobody would give a hell what I do for a living around me. They're like, well, whatever. There are, so when you get to America and you get to these American heroes, it's why I love writing characters like John Constantine or Harley Quinn or any of those characters that can speak truth to power. This is who I love writing. And so I think one of the things I guess people love that I do often is I do cut these heroes down to size. Garth Ennis used to do it far worse than me, I will say. But having John Constantine giving Batman a hard time for sitting in the back of a cab with Detective Chimp, this is the stuff that's just, it's great. It's so much fun. And so yes, we definitely have a different perspective. We're we're worried for you, and the whole world's like, please, just be good, look after yourselves, do sensible things, don't destroy everything. Just I can't say too much, but please, come on, get us. We want the best for all of you. Yeah. Yeah.
I met a woman from Melbourne who's we have a mutual friend, and she was visiting the States and visiting her. And I really did. I'm like, as an individual American citizen, I just want you to know, we don't all, beat our chests and we're the greatest country in the world. It's like, I wish there was more humility at the front of our government and our society. It's okay to be proud of where you come from, but it is a big world. And it's like, there's a lot of other great, wonderful examples of democracy and good government and good representation of your country. And I do worry sometimes that sometimes the leaders are like a little too America first, and it's like, uh, let's be a good superpower, if you will. I mean, we are, unfortunately, we're the friendly superpower, but like, let's remember that again. Let's make sure everybody's at the table and it's beneficial for the world and not just us.
Yeah. Well, I think you have a huge responsibility as citizens. Like the power of your vote. I don't think we don't talk about this much, but your vote is so important because we can't vote, and what happens in America affects all of us. That's just the thing. You are voting for all of us, so vote sensibly, vote securely, vote to look after yourselves, and not have rights stripped away. Please, particularly of women. Like, come on, this affects all of us. When Roe v. Wade, when that went, my wife was, we were crying here. You've got to, your vote is powerful. We can't influence it. Please help, think of the rest of the world as well.
Indeed. Well, again, act locally, think globally, act locally,
Exactly.
As the phrase goes. No. Well, you saw Biden wish me a good happy 19th.
I saw that. That was terrifying. Happy 19th, by the way. I'll join
Thanks,
Joe
brother.
Biden in wishing you a happy 19th. That was frightening. Very, very frightening. AI is terrifying and probably will be the death of all of us. Yeah.
Honestly, it's I don't know about down in Australia, but my former broadcasting company announced that they're even going to play with, and you knew it was inevitable. I think for some music stations, instead of having live announcers, they're going to have AI DJs. But even, God, what I did for a good portion of my career, writing commercials and voicing them, well, they've already got AI writing scripts, and now they're talking about AI actually performing the commercials. And it's don't you realize that you're taking away? From a creative writing standpoint, and I do want your thoughts. Azarello and I went back and forth on this, and he's like, "Well, they're going to screw us over, and they're going to go with AI generated scripts." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's guys like Az and yourself and other women. Kelly Thompson, a great example. Kelly Sue DeConnick, where you guys find these wrinkles of characters that aren't obvious to an AI, and maybe eventually it'll get smarter. But I really don't think so. I really think." Really, again, what you've done with Dick Grayson, what you do with John Kent and the Titans and all, it's like you're finding aspects of their character that aren't obvious. And right now, maybe AI can generate an obvious plot, but they're really missing the heart of what I think humans will look at this and say, yeah, but there is a weird quirk. Bruce is filled with quirks. And I don't believe an AI can generate some of the other areas you can go in with him. But your thoughts on AI actually going to the point of writing full scripts or whatever?
Look, I think it's the most short-sighted, idiotic thing imaginable. The idea that anyone could invest money, time, anything into AI and think that their job won't be next is stupid. If you think studios are thinking, okay, we'll save a few bucks here by eliminating these people, it's like, we won't need a studio. We don't need you. If we can tell our phone on our way home from not working or from working a really menial, terrible job because AI has taken all the good ones, and say, I want to watch this movie starring me and, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger when I get home with Scarlett Johansson, and I want to watch it on my MetaQuest 3 and I want to be in it, and I want this to happen, and there'll be a robot apocalypse, and I get to kiss, I don't know, Arnie at the end. It will be there, and we won't need a studio. But what you lose is a shared experience. You miss so much, and if you keep eliminating things, if you think an AI can't do a better job than a CEO, you're deluding yourself. There's a point where you have to stop, put in some regulations, actually have some big, deep thoughts about what you're welcoming, just because everyone's jumping the gun and they're bolting into this thing and everyone's investing in it and saying, let's spend money on AI. They're spending money. We need to integrate AI into our thing as well. It's like, you don't. It's not going to work. And AI currently, all it can do is copy and amalgamate. All it can do is get great art, get great artists, and create a recreation or a copy or a simulation of that. And it will be the same with writing. Yes, it may be able to mimic things that I do. Yes, it may be able to mimic things that Azarello or Kelly Thompson does. But the thing is, it can't create the next thing. It can bring things together, and but it will all start feeling the same. It will all start having the exact same flavor. So all the AI art you're staring at the moment, it all looks, there's something similar about all of it. I mean, a lot of it looks like art germ. A lot of it looks like the people it's stealing from the most, but it all starts looking the same. And you don't get the next Daniel Warren Johnson. You don't get these incredible storytellers and these amazing ideas, and you don't get Bruno Redondos, you don't get Daniel Semperis, you don't get these people. And it's the same with storytellers. You will get something that can feed Mark Twain and Shakespeare and Gail Simone all together, and it will be kind of cool. But you're gonna miss the next step. You're gonna miss the next step in human evolution, human endeavor, human creation, and you're gonna do it because it's gonna save you a few bucks.
Right, and it is looking to that quarterly earning balance sheet versus the long-term effects.
Absolutely.
And and also the idea of community, and I think the connectivity between, especially in comics, reader and creator, and that that vibe that they have. No, I hear
the connectivity that comics, that TV, that film, that everyone watching that next episode of Game of Thrones when that was the biggest thing on the planet, that everyone's seen that next Avengers movie and goes home and talks about it, instead of, hey, can I show you this cool thing that my AI created for me last night? And they'll be like, oh no, I'm going to go home and get it to create this cool thing for me instead. Like, we need human contact, even if it's via a Zoom thing across the world. We need to share ideas, and we need to be able to say, did you read that thing? Yes. Wasn't it awesome? Yes. And also, and imperfections, being able to say, hey, that bit wasn't cool, right? No, I didn't like that. Great. Discussion, contact. AI, I'm not a fan, in case you missed that.
No, I get it, man. Well, again, I hope my Biden video didn't bum you out, because again, I'm certainly using it for comedic purposes and everything. So yeah.
Just don't use my face.
Oh no, I would. I would never do that to my friends. Absolutely not, and I'm not capable of doing it with the program I have. But tell me about Neverlanders. Who publishes it? And tell me about it.
So Neverlanders is published by Penguin in the States. Really exciting book. Created it with John Sommariva, who's done things like Batman Ninja Turtles and a bunch of other stuff, and we've been mates for over a decade. So it was really exciting to create this book with him. It's about a group of homeless kids who are taken from our world by the last Lost Boy to fight in the Neverland War. All the Lost Boys have been killed, and this is a new group of Lost Ones who go to Neverland to basically save Neverland from a group of greedy adults who are trying to steal the heart of Neverland for themselves. It's, it's got gun control, climate crisis, corporate greed, it's everything. And and it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful book. It's just last year won the Children's Book Award in Australia, which is the first time in its 76-year history that a graphic novel has won that award. So that was a really big deal. It was all on television and papers and the rest of it. Couldn't be happy with the book.
That's beautiful, man. No, that sounds great. I'm really happy for you in that case. Is regarding and what you've accomplished in animation, and again, I mean, you're literally half a world away on the other side of the planet and everything. But like has James Gunn or any of the Warner people tapped you potentially for animation or feature work?
No. Not yet. I'd say no. That was a roundabout way. What I will say about James Gunn and his entire team is how much I love that they love comics and how much they're including comics at every stage. I was crestfallen to see all of those Superman creators recently on the set. Myself and Mark Waid sort of had a like, oh my god, whether we could have been there moment, but it was so great to see everyone there. It's really exciting knowing Tom King is in the room, seeing them adapt actual comics, seeing him tweet things. Like I wish this had been the case from every comic film, TV, anyone making these in the past, but I love the celebration of comics and the acknowledgement of comics that's happened here.
Based on what he did with the Suicide Squad movie, and of course his work at Marvel with the Guardians and stuff, it's like, no, this is the right guy, and he really does get it. And that's what,
like it. And he is a fan, and he's said nice things. He reads Nightwing. He likes the work. He was reading Suicide Squad as I was writing Suicide Squad as he was bringing out the movie. And knowing that he did that is, it's exciting. That's what you want as a creator. You want to know that your stuff is valued, and every time he's talking about these books, he's showing, yes, we're valued, and this is where we're looking to the source material. It's not just a nod at the end. It's not just a special thanks. It's a, yes, these books and these stories are important.
I really loved when you were on Suicide Squad, and I really loved the fact that you did introduce all these new characters as well. Have you had a chance to use them since your run on Suicide Squad, any of them?
Yeah, we brought them into Super Sons. It's not Super Sons, sorry, Superman, Son of Kal-El. We got to use them a bit there. There was a plan for them at one stage where we were hoping to get a book off the ground, and I basically fell down. I was just far too overworked at the time. I'd said yes to too many things, and it would have been great. Like, I would have had a ball, and I just couldn't get it happening. Couldn't write another word on top of everything else I was doing. But look, I'd love to have them back. They've appeared in the backgrounds of things. They just appeared in, if you take a look at the recent Nightwing on the High Seas thing, they go to an island and two of them are there in the background. One of them's in Dark Knights of Steel. I will try to bring them back. And they had a really big fan base at the time. A lot of people responded really well to them. So, bring back particularly Wink and Fieri and Chaos Kit, and these are characters that people love.
That's great, man. And you're because I can appreciate that Kirkman philosophy of, hey, man, if you're gonna come up with something new, save it for your own creator own stuff. Don't give it away, essentially. But you're okay with creating stuff for the DC universe.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it comes down to doing something that's purpose built. That you go, okay, I need this. And I think at DC at the time, they were like, oh, you can't do this and this and this because we can't kill those characters because they represent this. I'm like, well, then you need more characters that represent that. How about I just create them? And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. And I think we killed off most of the Suicide Squad in the first issue and brought in a new squad. And then people responded really well to them. So we didn't kill off a number of the ones that we were planning to kill off from there as well. We're like, oh, well, guess we'll keep them alive and we'll shock everybody and kill Deadshot instead of one of the ones that they think will die. And look, I don't mind. There are a number of creator-owned things happening in the background that I can't talk about yet. I've got about 11 different stories ready to go. I've written a feature film a couple of years ago. There's other things happening in TV world and film world and game world and things that there's always stuff happening that I can't talk about. But I like working on 6 things at once. I get very bored if I'm working on 2. I can't, my brain's like, I'm bored. What else is there? And that's why I love writing Elseworlds at the same time as in continuity. So, I was writing mostly in continuity last year. And it was like, I was getting antsy. I could feel it. So I was like, let's get Dark Knights of Steel 2 happening. Let's get this happening, And that's my happy place.
That's great, man. And I know you told me, and we won't reveal because I don't know, and I won't ask you, but we know there are new announcements coming up, obviously, in the next month or two as we lead into San Diego. I'm sorry I'm not going to be there because, again, nothing makes me happier, truly, than hanging with you and Nicola. And it's like, that's our opportunity because I would love to travel all the way to Oz and see you guys in your home turf. And hopefully someday that'll happen. But that seems to be a good almost halfway point. Not really for you guys. How long of a flight is that? 12 hours?
No. Melbourne to LA is 14 and a half. 14. And then some sort of layover and then another flight to San Diego. So usually it's about 19 hours all up. New York's even worse. New York's about 24.
And that I understand. Dude, my God, there's not enough Xanax on the planet to because I get squirrely even going 8 hours. I'm going to go to Dublin in August, and I'm very excited to do it. But by the same token, it's like, man, I'm going to need something to really kind of knock me out because you get squirrely. And I mean, you know, you got no choice. You're on that plane, and walking up and down the aisle is only so satisfying and stuff. So I can't imagine for you guys. My God.
Well, usually, I mean, I think every single one of us always has to work, so that helps. Just like, okay, plug in, put some headphones in, work on the script that I know I said I have to do before I land in San Diego, because it's not going to happen while I'm there. Yeah.
No, I get it, man. Dude, I'm not going to keep you because, again, it's the middle of the night your time. But I just want to thank you. And truly, it means a lot that you come back, even when you can't right away. Totally, it's never a grudge on my end. It's fine. And I love that we're able to just kind of share what's going on. But truly, man, I'm so happy for you that DC gets it when it comes to your writing and keeps giving you the opportunities that they're giving you. And you're killing it, man. You really are. And it's, as always, continued success and nothing but good luck in the future with what you're doing.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you. Great to see your face again. I'm sorry, you know, the story behind this is that John's been emailing me constantly for probably the last year and a half, and I keep saying, yeah, next week, and then it just doesn't happen as I fall down another hole. But, yeah, and I didn't get back to you earlier today because my son broke his nose at school, but, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
God, I hope he's okay. Tom, I tell all of my friends that do what you do, if it's a comparison of making the donuts or talking about making the donuts, we want you to make the donuts. It's okay.
Sure.
You know, it's.
I like donuts. Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great. If you don't mind, hang on 1 second. Don't pop off. But
Sure.
Thanks everybody for watching. Kelly Thompson Wednesday night. Dave Wachter joining me Thursday, and I'm another good friend that I've known since the beginning of his career, and he's just killing it in an illustrative way. And then Andy Diggle, it looks like, on Friday. So it's going to be a full week here on Wednesday.
Lovely guy.
Yeah, first time I'm having a conversation with them, so I can't wait. But I hope everybody will enjoy it. I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.